Hey there, you're listening to Season 3, Episode 7 of We're Just Talking About It. We have a brand new guest on the show for you today. Her name is Sabeeha. She's an author of a memoir called Threading My Prayer Rug, One Woman's Journey from Pakistani Muslim to American Muslim. Sabeeha came to America after a hurried arranged marriage in 1971. We ask her specifically about this in this episode. She also talks candidly about the culture shock of moving to New York from Pakistan, and the long but rewarding journey of rediscovering her religion and building a Muslim community right in New York. Sabeeha is a captivating storyteller and has us laughing throughout most of this episode. We hope you enjoy it.
So, welcome. We're glad to have you here today. Let's just start off with a little bit about your biography. Tell us about yourself.
Well, I am an author of a memoir, Threading My Prayer Rug, One Woman's Journey from Pakistani Muslim to American Muslim. I came to the United States from Pakistan in 1971 after a hurried arranged marriage to a Pakistani doctor. And my husband Khalid and I have two sons who are now married with children. We live in New York City. I've had a career as a hospital executive, and then when our grandson was diagnosed with autism, I left my career to start an autism association, and 9/11 had just happened, so we got very involved in interfaith dialogue, and at one point when our grandson was detained at the airport, this is the grandson with autism, he was 8 years old, because his name was the same as a terrorist on the no-fly list. He was detained for several hours, missed his flight, he and the family. That's when I decided that I needed to write a book so that I can reach more people across places where I cannot get to in person, to raise awareness about Muslims and Muslims in America. And since then, that has become my source and my way of making ourselves known through public speaking and through writing and through blogging.
Well, that is a great intro. We'll dig into a couple of the topics in there, and I think if you've followed my bio a little bit, and we met through social media, you know that we've kind of had similar paths into why it is important to do interfaith work and how much America still needs to work on that. So one of the things Hollie and I discussed earlier, and most Americans are not real familiar with it unless they've happened to met somebody. Would you mind talking at all about the arranged marriage and what that was like for you?
Well, I grew up in a culture where this was the norm, and dating was not permissible because in the faith, premarital sex, well, extramarital also, is not permitted, and therefore the only dating was kind of out of bounds because there was a fear that one thing could lead to another, and as a consequence, the only way to make a match was through arranged marriages. And that being the norm, all my friends were having arranged marriages. We really made nothing of it. It's just the way things were done. And in my case, it was my grandparents who arranged the marriage. They had seen my future husband grow up. They lived in the same town. They had known him since he was a child, and they knew, and their many, many decades of wisdom told them that this would be the right match for me. So they spoke to my parents. My husband-to-be was in the United States. No one in my family had seen him. Forget about the fact that I hadn't seen him. My parents had not seen him. And my parents kept saying to my grandparents, but we haven't seen him. And they would say, but we have seen him.
Trust us.
Trust us. In other words, Grandpa knows best. And they were right. So when my parents asked me, I said, you can go ahead and say yes. And my father said, are you sure? And I said, yeah, I'm sure. Now, I have no idea why I was so sure. Just an instinct, a gut feeling. It felt right. You know, like, how irrational is that?
Yeah. Try explaining that to a millennial or a Generation Z kid. Yeah.
Exactly. Everything that I was hearing about him had kind of endeared me to him. His photos were nice. He was a handsome guy. And his sister kept wooing me and lobbying me by telling me all kinds of wonderful stories about he's the most wonderful person in the world and how lucky his wife will be. So I kind of fell for it. And so I told my parents, everybody was divided. So I actually cast the tie vote and said, why don't you go ahead and say yes? And the next thing I know, he was on a plane, flew all the way from New York for the wedding. I was in class. My mother walks in and says, let's go.
Oh my gosh.
Your
Drop your
here.
books. It's wedding
Drop
time.
your books. Your fiance is here. I have to take you to the tailor to have your wedding outfit stitched.
Oh
And
my
I get
God.
into the car and I'm daydreaming that, oh my God, what's it going to be like to see my future husband for the first time? Will I be too nervous to talk to him? And I wonder what his voice is like. And oh God, please make him taller than me in high heels.
Yes.
That's great.
So he came, I saw him, didn't talk to him, just a hello. He was very handsome, very charming. And from there on, we've been living happily ever after for the last 47 plus years.
Wow.
Wow, that's awesome. Now,
Very,
how,
very lucky, very lucky.
what was the age difference between you two at the time?
5 years.
5 years. Yeah, my grandparents was even farther than that. Yep, and it was the same with my grandparents. They lived near each other. The other families had watched him grow up all his life, and they knew they'd be a good match, and they stayed together until he passed away. I mean, it is a different thing for Americans, but you don't think about just 3 generations ago. It was pretty much the same thing for Americans. We don't look at it that way.
Right.
Oh no, it was always you found your love. Not really.
Somebody set you up.
Somebody set you up, and you were chaperoned, and you were,
And I say that about my son when people ask me, did you arrange your children's marriages? And I said, with my older son, I did not arrange it. I engineered it.
Yes, that's perfect.
That is great.
I was just having a conversation last week with a friend whose family's from India, and they're second generation here in America, and one of the daughters was just not getting married. She kept not finding the right guy. So the grandparents got to that same level where they said, you know what? We're gonna have to start engineering here. Our last one just cannot get it together. Let's start bringing by suitable guys and see if we can get this fixed. That's really neat and wonderful. You stayed together and
Yeah, that's a great story.
Thank you.
So do you want to talk a little bit about the culture shock you experienced coming to the United States?
because that was fast. Drop your books, get married, and
I land in New York. We have this studio apartment. The next morning, my husband has to go to work. So he gives me some cash and he says that you can mail the letters at the post office. Now, of course, this was 1971. This poor E.T. could not phone home. So I had written letters to my parents and family saying I arrived safely. So he said, step out, make a right, go around the block, make a left, go 2 blocks down, and you'll see the post office. Okay.
easy peasy. Yeah.
So I get dressed, I put on all my finery, my shimmering outfit, my gold choker necklace, my dangling gold earrings, my golden bracelets, my golden pocketbook, my golden pumps, and I walk out into the streets of Jamaica, Queens.
1971.
1971. So I go into the post office. I did not get lost, and now I'm trying to make change. And he's saying, "Give me the nickel, give me the dime," and I am so confused. I can't figure out why a 5-cent coin is larger than a 10-cent coin.
There's no logic to this.
Yeah. Now I walk out on the streets and I look around. People walking around in tattered jeans with gaping holes at the knees. And I'm shocked. I had no idea this was the in thing. I'm saying they're so poor they can't afford to buy jeans. And the jeans are all in tatters. And then I walk into a drugstore and this nice, kind old man looks at me and he says, "You must be new." "How did you know?" He said, "Well, young lady, I wouldn't walk the streets of New York looking the way you're looking." "Why not?" "You're going to get mugged." I don't know if I ran home in shoes that were not meant for running, and walk out into the streets? I said, well, in Pakistan, newlywed brides get dressed in their gold jewelry and shimmering outfits and walk into the streets. Well, honey, this is not New York.
He's getting a culture shock of his own, trying to figure out how, wait a minute, I've got to really help you here.
I was say, that was a day full of lessons for you. Pretty quickly, you learned.
Very quickly. And you know, the other thing that happened in Pakistan, when you go visiting, you are immediately served some drinks, some food, some, all kind of savories. And the host never asks you if you would like a drink or if you want something to eat. And the etiquettes require you to say no, thank you. Because if you say yes, it means you're very greedy.
Yeah.
So they keep insisting, please have some, no, I'm fine. Please have some, no, I'm fine. Oh, I insist. Well, okay, if you insist. And so this goes on and on and on. So when I come here, I go visiting a neighbor and she says, would you like something to drink? And I say, no, thank you. Okay.
Now you're going to be thirsty.
Now I was thirsty and hungry and I hadn't eaten, thinking she's going to serve me all kinds of goodies, so I overeat, and my goodness, did I learn fast. And just recently, someone from Pakistan came to visit us, and I said, would you like something to drink? And they said, no, thank you. Okay.
You've been broken.
I had been broken into. I was so embarrassed when I realized the next day what I had done.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I did get used to that, wandering around across Asia and then coming home to America. Yeah, you do realize quickly that we don't feed and give you liquids as much as we should here. It's just, you're right, it's so matter of fact. You want anything? Nope. Okay. Yeah. Done.
There's a culture of hospitality there.
Oh, yes, for sure. When you first moved to New York, what was the Muslim community like, or was there even one in New York at that time? Did it exist, and then how you started to build that community?
There was no Muslim community in New York, and I lost the faith because there was no one around to provide that sense of community. There were no Muslim centers, no mosques, nobody advertising that Ramadan is starting, no call to prayer from the minarets, and no Muslims that I knew other than a couple of my husband's colleagues. So I stopped saying my prayers. I folded away my prayer rug because every time I tried to pray, my little toddler son would come and sit on my head. And Ramadan came and went, and the community sense just wasn't there. So it was only when our children started growing up that we realized that we had to do something to bring the faith into their lives, or they will lose the faith. And we had to actually start going through the yellow pages, the telephone directory of the 70s, looking for Muslim-sounding names.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and not realizing that all these names that ended in a witch, itch, mitch were really Albanian Muslims, and I just flew right past those, dismissing them as European names. Eventually, I found three new, 3 others, 6 new, 12 others, and then we started getting together in our living rooms, then in our basements, and then we rented a place and started a Sunday school. At first, I was teaching my children at home. I was totally ignorant because I had gone to a Catholic school in Pakistan. I started my day with the Lord's Prayer, and now I was ignorant mommy trying to make Muslims out of her children. So I actually started by going to Barnes & Noble and picking up from the children's section a book called Stories from the Bible. And in that were stories that my grandfather used to tell me at bedtime, stories of Noah, Moses, Jesus, Jacob, all those stories that are in the Quran. And it didn't have Prophet Muhammad, but I figured I'd wing that. So that's how I started with them. But we realized, my husband and I, that wasn't enough. They needed a community from where they could get support and feel confident in their faith. And that's when we found these Muslim families in Staten Island, and we started getting together in homes, and then we found a place where we started a Sunday school. Problem was, there were no teachers.
Yep.
So we parents had to become teachers, educate ourselves, send for books which were not available in the United States. So whenever someone was going back to Pakistan, we'd say, could you please bring some very elementary level books?
Sure.
And then we tried to stay just one step ahead of our children because they were asking questions that we never asked when we were growing up, because we grew up in a Muslim country, went with the flow, no challenges, no questions asked, and now we had to have answers for our children who were asking good questions.
You had American students now. Why?
Yeah, there were a lot of whys. And our children then brought us back into the faith. Eventually, we built a mosque, which was a whole other experience.
Wow, that's the adventure though. You back in these salons and in the living rooms and the early days of almost every religion, just sitting around trying to figure out how to become teachers, how do we pass on our religion. That must have been, it's very, it's a very spiritual thing, kind of that reawakening of yourself because you have to teach others.
Well, I think it's also interesting that it could have gone away for you forever and you didn't have to, try to bring your faith to New York with you. Like you said, you lost it and it could have been lost, but it goes to show just how important it was to you to go through a phone book, connect with complete strangers, having only your religion in common, to hopefully build this community that clearly was beneficial and is beneficial for generations to come.
And that was the case with all these parents who set aside their lives and their schedules and their to-do lists to make this a priority. There's so much one can be doing on a Sunday, and they would set that aside, bring their children to the school and get involved.
I think that's an amazing story, and that's what parents are supposed to do. It's tough, but in the 70s, when the economy's not doing so great either, you could have all had that second job and been trying to move forward economically, but to take the time to do that.
That is where we will wrap up with Sabeeha today, but check out our next episode where she shares the amazing adventure of starting their own mosque on Staten Island. They had to use some interesting fundraising techniques to make this dream come true. As always, thanks for listening. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at We're Just Talking About It, and you can email us at wjtanc@gmail.com.